Heavy autumn rain slammed against the windows of a lonely wooden cabin near the edge of the Great Smoky Mountains. Inside that cabin, a father was losing hope. 48 hours earlier, his 5-year-old daughter, Irene, had disappeared into the dark forest. Search teams had looked everywhere, but the mountains were dangerous. The rain kept getting worse, and time was running out. Eric sat beside the window, holding the wedding ring of his late wife. His hands were shaking. His eyes were red from hours of searching. He whispered the same words again and again. "Please, hold on, Irene." Then suddenly, tap. A small sound came from the porch. Eric lifted his head. Tap, tap, tap. Something was knocking on the window. Slowly, he looked outside. Standing in the cold rain was a young gray and white German shepherd. The dog was soaked from head to tail, but it didn't bark. It didn't run. Instead, it raised one paw and tapped the glass again. The dog stared straight into Eric's eyes. Then it turned its head and looked toward the dark forest, then back at Eric. The message was clear: follow me. But was this dog really trying to help, or was Eric's exhausted mind playing tricks on him? If you enjoy powerful stories about loyalty, courage, and the bond between humans and dogs, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you don't miss our next journey. Today's story follows a grieving father, a mysterious young dog, and a rescue that no one expected. Now, let's continue. The old radio on the kitchen table suddenly crackled with static. Sheriff Tolliver's voice came through the speaker. It sounded heavy, defeated. "Eric, I'm sorry. The storm is getting worse. The terrain is too unstable. There's a serious risk of mudslides. All search teams are being pulled back until morning." The words hit Eric like a punch to the chest. Morning? His daughter had already been missing for 2 days. She might not survive the night. Eric leaned against the window. He was tall and lean with the strong build of a former soldier. His brown hair was tied back, streaked with gray near the temples. A short beard framed his tired face. A silver chain hung around his neck. On it were 2 things: his military dog tag and his wife Arlene's wedding ring. Eric gripped them tightly. He closed his eyes, begging for a miracle. And then, tap. The sound came again. The German shepherd was still outside, still waiting, still tapping the glass. Rain poured over its thick fur, but the dog didn't move. It simply stared at Eric, then slowly turned its head toward the forest. The look in its eyes was intense, focused, urgent. Eric felt something deep inside him awaken, a soldier's instinct. The authorities had given up for the night, but he couldn't, not while his daughter was still out there. Eric grabbed his flashlight, strapped his survival knife to his belt, then opened the cabin door. Cold rain hit him instantly, but the dog was already moving, running toward the trees. Eric followed. The forest swallowed them. Wind howled through the branches. The rain turned the ground into thick mud. The young German shepherd moved ahead with confidence. Its nose stayed close to the ground, searching, tracking. Eric pushed forward behind it. The beam of his flashlight cut through the darkness. Roots and rocks made every step dangerous, but the dog never slowed down. Every so often, it would stop, turn around, and check if Eric was still following. Then it continued. The climb was brutal, even for a trained soldier, but the young German shepherd refused to quit. After nearly an hour of fighting through the storm, they reached the top of a steep slope. Below them sat the broken remains of an abandoned lumber mill. The old sawmill had closed decades ago. Now it looked like a ghost town. Rotting wood, collapsed beams. Nature is slowly reclaiming everything. Eric swept his flashlight across the ruins, and suddenly, the beam stopped. Something bright was caught in a thorn bush. Eric rushed closer. His heart nearly stopped. It was a small, yellow glove. Irene's glove. She had been here. Eric's chest tightened with hope and fear. He stepped toward the bush. Suddenly, a blinding light exploded in his eyes. "Freeze!" a voice shouted from the darkness. Eric raised his arm to shield his face. He heard the unmistakable sound of a rifle being lifted. "Keep your hands where I can see them." The voice was firm, trained. Eric didn't argue. Military instinct kicked in. He slowly raised both hands. Rain poured down his face. He stood perfectly still. Then, something unexpected happened. The German shepherd walked straight toward the armed men, tail wagging, friendly. A quiet voice came from the shadows. "Well, I'll be. It's Ghost." The rifle slowly lowered. The flashlight beam dropped to the ground. Two men stepped out of the darkness. Both were veterans. They noticed the dog tags around Eric's neck, the wedding ring beside them, and the desperate look in his eyes. This wasn't an intruder. This was a father searching for his child. The tension faded. One of the men nodded. "Follow us." They walked past the ruins of the mill. Ghost trotted happily beside them. Soon, they reached a wall of rock covered in thick vines. One of the guards pushed aside the plants. Behind them, it was a hidden passage. Eric stepped through. The wind disappeared instantly. On the other side was something incredible, a hidden valley. Tents were carefully arranged. Small smokeless fires burned quietly. Paths were neatly organized. It was a secret refuge, a place where veterans lived far away from the world. The leader of the camp soon approached. His name was Joe. He looked at Eric calmly, then spoke the words Eric had been praying to hear. "We found your daughter." Eric's breath stopped. Joe explained that Irene had slipped near a ravine and injured her ankle, but she was alive, safe. When Joe asked why she had wandered so far into the forest, her answer surprised everyone. She had been chasing a glowing Luna moth. She believed it could carry a message to heaven, a message for her mother. Eric felt tears fill his eyes. His daughter still missed her mom, more than he realized. Joe looked down at the German shepherd beside him. "That dog is the real hero," he said. "Your daughter shared her food with him. She hugged him when she was scared, and that was enough. The dog had bonded with her. When she needed help, Ghost went looking for it." Joe led Eric to a nearby tent. Inside, Irene sat wrapped in warm blankets. Her ankle was carefully splinted. When she saw her father, her eyes lit up. "Daddy!" Eric rushed forward and dropped to his knees. He hugged her tightly. Neither of them wanted to let go. Beside them, Ghost curled up peacefully. His mission was finally over. By morning, the storm had almost stopped. Before Eric left, Joe made one request. The camp had to remain secret. These men had come here to escape painful memories. Eric understood. He gave Joe his word. Then he began the journey home with Irene in his arms. Ghost walked beside them. The dog paused once, looking back at the veterans who had raised him. Joe knelt beside the dog and gently scratched his head. "A good soldier knows who needs him most," he said. "He chose your family." Days later, peace finally returned to the small valley town. Eric stood on his porch, watching the mountains. Inside the cabin, Irene rested on the couch. Ghost lay beside her. Her small hand was slowly stroking his ears. For the first time in days, everything was quiet. Eric smiled softly. Sometimes miracles don't fall from the sky. Sometimes they walk through the storm on four loyal paws and remind us that even in our darkest moments, we are never truly alone.
If this story touched your heart, leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more powerful stories of courage, loyalty, and the incredible bond between humans and dogs, because the next story might be even more unforgettable.